We're going to get this show started. All right, looks like we are up and running. Train and Trade, 11 a.m. Eastern here. Let's see. Make sure you're following along, dtitrader.com/telegram. And I'd like to welcome in our YouTube audience. If you want to join, you can go to dtitrader.com/YouTube. And we've got Train and Trade April 10th sitting there live. Go ahead and click that link and make sure you like and subscribe. And feel free to say good morning to us in the chat room over there. Great to see all of our friends coming in from YouTube. Again, like and subscribe. Give us that thumbs up. Let us know that you're paying attention and you want a little bit more. We are going to be talking about markets. That's what this whole presentation is about. There is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. You and you alone will be responsible for all the decisions you make, so make sure that you make smart ones. Always consider risk when trading, and remember that past performance is not indicative of future results. Couple big items here from the news section. We're still paying attention to crude. Opened at 98.23 last night, so it had gone below 100. Went back above that in overnight, 100.42. But we're back down to 98.57. Looks, Tom, like we got to a low of 97. So I'm going to be watching that 142 and also that 97 low. See what sort of wiggle we get in there, because of course the big news is the Iran ceasefire negotiation schedule for tomorrow. Will it hold? Will it not? We'll see. Let's see. I got the wrong thing written in there, don't I? Okay, so yeah, let me get that corrected. That should be CPI. And give me just 1 second to get that fixed up for you guys. Easy correction here. Just pop out and back in, and there you go. CPI. 3.3% versus 2.4% previous. But if you look at the core CPI, that's the big number, 2.6 versus 2.5% previous. So not much change on the core. And, that gets into a very interesting discussion, which I think we'll put on the side, maybe come up with this a little bit next week, Tom, is how far advanced does that crude wave, and how are we looking at that? When does that bleed through to the general market? Because you can see this is the cost of crude impacting CPI, going from 2.4 to 3.3. This, of course, last month's data. Not affecting the core yet. I think yet is the key word there, so keep an eye on that. Now, key levels in the market, the March high 69.11 quarter. Current high of April was set after the release of that CPI number at 68.88. The FTD high way back down there at 66.61, so you can see how much the market has moved. And a special announcement here on the news, probably one of the biggest news events for humanity as a whole. Artemis 2 splashdown scheduled for 8:07 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be after the bell. There's a lot that happens after the bell, which is why you have to be prepared for it. And Tom, talking about preparing for those things that are going to happen after the bell and over the weekend, I know you've got your views on this. You've been taking full advantage of that preparation, pocket puts, being able to use them to secure a what do you want to call it? Sort of a good feeling, kind of hold off the bad feelings going into the weekend. A little bit of
No, it's
insurance
just
in your pocket.
probabilities, Chuck. I mean, the VIX has been running as high as 28, 29. Today, the VIX is at 20. And I think, we haven't been this low. That's in conjunction with the fact the market hadn't been this high since we broke after the start of the conflict in Iran. And
Yeah.
so it's all about probabilities with me. People that trade with me for years know that I'm pretty disciplined about the fact that I'm more disciplined, in my opinion, publicly than I am privately, because I'm probably more to the side of being a risk taker. However, what I've learned over the years is be very deliberate with what I do because I know people's skill level vary. And you got to take that in consideration. There's new people, there's old people, there's experienced people. There's all kinds of different people have, some people have a lot of money, some people have very little money. There's just a big mixture when you're dealing on the retail side. And I take that in consideration. My strategies are designed to take somebody with a small account to a big account. And we've done that over the years, and I'm proud of that. And we've got a long-term group of customers. They don't miss it when we meet, and so I think that says a lot when you talk to people that's been face to face with us. You know, back in the day, Chuck, most people that we dealt with would come to Mobile. If you remember, we didn't offer online stuff, and we filled up classes in that building in Mobile for years. And it was an experience to come to Mobile, Alabama. And now the situation's changed because we're looking at online and technology and all the things you can do today. Well, I wish we had some of this stuff back then. Goodness gracious. But here's the good news. The good news is, here's what I think. We're in probably day 3. The market's done nothing but go higher. You've got the big event, the first big event since the, I'm going to say supposedly ceasefire began, is tomorrow, Saturday. Okay? And let's think about what could happen. It could blow up. That'd be the end of it. We come in Sunday night faced with the market that's selling everything. Okay? Well, that could happen. Or probably a more moderate approach would be we had a good meeting. We had good meetings. They don't mind saying we got good meetings, keep the market invested. Might be a terrible meeting, but they'll probably come away and say, oh, it was a good meeting, we're making progress. Because we're really on what will be about halfway there, 5 days. And so the rhetoric between what happens after the meeting in the next week is going to be very important to watch. And I think you just got to stay tuned. But you got to be, the VIX is your best clue. Being at 20, saying, hey, everything looks good. But if you look at the news reports, not near as good as what they're saying. Okay. They said you need 150 ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And they've had what, 11 yesterday, 11 ships. So look at the numbers like you do in the market. Numbers will help you. But does that prevent me from giving you great trades? No. We've got a situation where we can trade. And I've been telling people that. And yesterday I shared, I said, when AMD was at 220, I said it's going to 245. This morning it's at 248. That's a pretty good call. And I told you I like Intel. I haven't been in Intel in 25 years. I like the way it looks. So there's a lot of different things that can happen. But I'm not going to be 100% in, but I might be 50% in certain stocks as we come out of this. Okay.
Yeah. Now, Tom, in all markets, there's what you know and what you don't. This weekend, we're dealing with what we don't. But earlier this week, you dealt with what you do know. Great trade here on AMD.
Great. I think it's off the charts if you think about it, because 22%, Chuck, with one night of overnight risk is a heck of a trade. And, it's not herald enough, but that trade right there, out of all the trades we could have done, that trade right there, not like we had 10 or 15 trades out there. We only got a few. That's a heck of a trade. And anyway, I'm very proud of that trade. It's not over, by the way. There'll be some more of that next week. Next stop on AMD probably be somewhere between, let's just say 260, 65 area.
Yeah, definitely a big, powerful move in advanced micro devices. And you mentioned looking over at Intel. You and I remember back when AMD and Intel were competing with each other. It's a little bit of a different ball game here, but there is still that residual connection. So I know you've been out there taking advantage of Intel in light of that AMD move.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a few stocks I really like, and I like, I was talking to Jeff a little bit this morning. I said, I always have been comfortable with around $60 stocks, and and Intel was at 60 when I got on board, and now it's at 62.84. It's like next stop's about 65, I would say. But I'm holding the shares long term right now. That's my plan. We'll see.
All right. Okay, and let's see, what else have we got going on? Well, it is time to begin the Train and Trade presentation in earnest. We'll be doing this Monday through Friday in the month of April, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. If we have a scheduling conflict, we'll let you know about that before that 11 a.m. Eastern deadline. But be here at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's the best time to come in to Train and Trade. Remember, all trades in Train and Trade are going to be, let's see, can we repost today's slides? Yeah, we'll get those posted up in just a minute. And so a reminder here that all trades in Train and Trade are tracked through T-Buzz Talk and Trade. That's the Telegram channel, dtitrader.com/TNT for those of you who want those live updates. Got some great information coming there. Now, if you'd like to know a little bit more about Tom, you can check out his books here. His first book plus the trilogy, Roadmap to the Markets, is available on Amazon.com. Winning the Day Trading Game, complimentary audio portion there at dtitrader.com/WDTG. That's WDTG. So go and click that link and come in. The links have been posted into the chat room for you. The Markets Never Sleep and Trade to Win, as well as Winning the Day Trading Game and Roadmap to the Markets, all available at Amazon.com. So let's see, a couple of online public resources that we use and recommend. Use them every day. Was using Forex Factory and Econo Day this morning with the news coming out. Earningswhispers.com. That site's going to be very important next week, Tom. We got the big banks coming out and reporting, so we're moving into the heart of earnings season. So if you've kind of put earnings aside because you were paying attention to everything else going on in the world, let's get focused back on earnings because it's going to start to be a very big issue. Exchanges where you can check out the information from the various exchanges, CME, CMEgroup.com, NYSE.com, and Eurex.com, all publicly available. Go and access those if you want to do a research, find out a little bit more about the markets. But if you want to do a little bit more research, I would recommend our resources here over at DTI. The DTI white paper booklet, dtitrader.com/WP. Tom's YouTube page, where we are live broadcasting this particular session. Good morning to everybody on YouTube. That's dtitrader.com/YouTube. Important terms to know. We got a nice little Google Doc there for you guys to check out. Tom's penalty tape. And I'm going to skip options EDU for a second because I got it coming up on the next slide. But Tom's BNN interview, if you want to go back and see him talking live with BNN, great interview there. And while you're watching it, make sure to pay attention to the watch he's wearing. It's a focal point of that interview. I always chuckle a little bit about that one, Tom, because every time I watch it, when she mentions that watch, I'm thinking, wait, I don't remember that watch. I think you might have been wearing a nice one while you were traveling.
I used to wear it when I travel, and I eventually gave it to my oldest son, and it was a beautiful watch.
All right. Well, next time I'm up in the area where Winston's hanging out, I'll ask him if I can check that watch out. So let's move on here. And we have that options EDU by DTI. And I got a big page here, new options education resources for everybody, dtitrader.com/options EDU. If you really want to learn how the market works and how to use options in trading, this is where we post our information once you guys become familiar with it, because a lot of the trading that you might hear about could be options related. So we want to make sure you know what we're talking about, know what we're looking at. This is a great resource to go and learn how to make this work for you. Now, Tom, the biggest thing I think we're looking at is the FTD stocks. And Jonathan has brought up the page here. We've got an update today at 11:18 a.m. Eastern, so just updated. And the thing that draws my attention, you mentioned this earlier, that VIX below 20, 1911 on the VIX.
Yeah, that's the cash VIX, and the actual VIX futures were below 20 earlier. Let's see. The May contract is still above. The May contract is considered the current contract now. That's still above 21.26, but the April contract did get below 20 earlier this morning.
Yeah, well, definitely we can see the direction that that's been moving. The FTD low was 23.50, and you're down 1911 on the cash. So the direction, there's no question about that. Will it continue? Well, a lot of that depends on this weekend. And speaking of direction, the S&P, Nasdaq, Dow, all pushing higher. We've got crude. If you take a look at crude here, FTD low was 96.50 and crude at 98.73. I mentioned it earlier today. The low of crude today 97. So that 96.50 number really coming up to a critical point there in crude, going into a weekend where we've got those negotiations. So, yeah, Tom, you've done a good job of setting up this weekend as being very pivotal and something you have to prepare for and understand. And as we look at some of these various markets, whether it be the VIX or crude, you can see they're on the cusp. Like something could really happen over the weekend. Now, that's generally always the case, but certainly a little bit more heightened given the events that are occurring this weekend.
Yeah, Chuck, I tell you, you look at crude and you say to yourself, where's that big number? I got it at 103.55, which is at 91 to 115 midpoint. And I think crude is sort of contained right here. It's a trading zone. It'd have to break 91 to start another trend, or 115 to start a trend people dial into. But I just think you see stuff like that and you try to take advantage of it when it happens. But a lot of opportunity if you know where to look. This sheet here is the first start when you're looking for things to do with your money.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning. Like Jonathan, if you can scroll down, we'll take a look at all these stocks that are pushing that long side, and it's pretty impressive. A dramatic shift in the market from what we were looking at last month. And let's see, Jonathan's highlighting Micron, 422.20 currently. The FTD high was 385.08. So we see that on the long side. But the one I look at and go, wow, is probably just above Micron there. AMD, we talked about that earlier. The FTD high was 226.31. They're currently, Tom, 248.74.
How would you like to bought it this morning, like I told people to do inside of the TNT room at 237, Chuck?
Definitely a great place. And I'm just looking through all these numbers here. Was it the moving above the open of the year in the getting above that March high, 218.92, 21.33. I think you were talking about AMD before that. So were you seeing that upcoming?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on it. Yeah. Nice thing about being a tape reader and using the roadmap and everything that we got to help us is that you can really, in my estimation, do yourself a big favor by following these numbers and get ahead of most chart readers. I like the edge anytime I trade, people will know, and they just work at it. Sort of fun.
Jonathan pointing out that AMD 237.55, one of the Magic 5 this morning, and it's not the only one that's giving you nice little runs. I'm looking over QQQ. You had 611.55, so that's been moving. The SPY is up at 681.86. You were looking for 681.55, so that is moving as well. And of course, you've been mentioning Intel. And Jonathan, we got Intel on the FTD sheet.
Should have had it added yesterday, actually. But look at that chart, man. AMD, that's all you need today.
Yeah, definitely. I see that chart coming in now. And big move off of RB3. That's that big blue bar. There's a reason we pay attention to reference bars.
Yeah, the Magic 5 is a huge benefit from Talking Trade. It started as just, let's get a Telegram channel so that Tom can talk to everybody in the pre-market hours and then post option trades during the cash market hours. And it has morphed into just so much more than that. So much more than that, including the place, like mentioned earlier, where we track all and any trade issued inside the trade session. So that link again is dtatrader.com/TNT. I've gone back to the FTD algo spreadsheet and highlighted Intel for you, Chuck.
Yeah, there you go. The Magic 5 number, for those of you that were watching on Telegram this morning, 61.55, and current 62.98. So nice big move there. Of course, AMD sort of outshines everything, but it's pulling a few other markets up along with it. So we've got kind of a unified movement, rising tide, right? For those of you that don't know the saying, the rising tide floats all boats.
Definitely, and that's why it's so important when we look at this every month. Looking for that S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow to be showing a bull signal, increase our odds here on all of our stocks. We're looking to be making
Hey,
bullish.
Rob just posted something that gets me up in the morning. Tom, thanks a bunch for AMD. Added $2,680 to my bank account this morning because of your call on AMD.
Hey, that's a good wake-up call.
That's great.
All the way around. So let me post the spreadsheet again. Hopefully everybody's using the spreadsheet and understands the process, but when we're here at Training Trade, just let us know if you've needed questions answered. Let's look at the top lessons for the week. Today's Friday. We usually do that on Friday. And I wanted to get this updated. Over here on the left, 2 columns was Tom's 10 tickers for the week that he issued. This usually on Sunday night at planning, but this week it was Sunday was Easter. So Train and Trade on Monday included these 10 tickers. QQQ, you had a breakout number of 592.55. This morning it opened at 611.82, well above your breakout. So it
612.88 right now.
And 612.88 right now.
So if I call a planning session, who's going to be there? Don't miss my planning session. If you had to miss it, watch the recording. That's how I do my plan for the week.
And we do normally stream the planning on, again, it's normally Sunday night at 8, but whenever we hold planning throughout the year, it is streamed on YouTube, dtatrader.com/YouTube. dtitrader.com/YouTube. Check out the live tab over there on the YouTube page. You'll see all the recordings from our live sessions. So the SPY, Tom's number was 662.55 this morning. It opened at 681.30. Currently 681.45.
And a significant event on the SPY, it opened higher than the 3 days, which was Jonathan's buy signal.
And that's actually our most important lesson of the week number, the second most important lesson of the week, which we'll get to in just a second to show you that. If you're brand new, let's check out GLD. Breakout level was 445.55, never got above that. So maybe that number will hold into next week, but this morning it opened at 438.59 and currently trading at 439. We got a leveraged silver product here. It's going to move a little bit more than silver. I think it's either a 2x or a 3x. I think it might be a 3x. It's close, but we're out of time for the week, so I might hold off on that one until next week. AMD 220.55 was the breakout. Today's open was 239. Current price 248.34. Incredible move this week on AMD. Apple 257.55 was the breakout level. This morning's open 259.96. Current price 261.30. And Tom, you got Apple long call that's paying us up about 10% on that one so far.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, folks, I tell people to watch my video on deltas. Anywhere from delta 10 to delta 50 will pay you if these numbers exceed these numbers or go below these numbers. So it's a great, I guess it's something that I give away. I've been doing it for years, and it really is something that is really, the idea was give you something so valuable that you wouldn't miss one of these sessions. And typically our largest crowd always shows up on Sunday night, even the people that have jobs and long-term traders and stuff like that. But if you follow these 10 tickers and get in a few of our select programs, I think you're going to find out that we give a lot of good information out there. David said here, can't imagine trading without all the free information I give. Better than most people's programs, in my opinion. I'm biased. That's okay. I can say it after 40 years.
Yeah, you've earned the right to be biased, I'd say, Tom. Nobody will fault you for that one.
Yeah, don't fault me just because you get a little jaded, I guess, the older you get. I hear some of this stuff and I see people, piling in because people are really better marketers than we are. And eventually they find me and they stay with me once they find me, which is a great thing, I guess, Yeah, a lot of people turned around once they learned how to effectively manage their assets. That's what we do. It's not perfect. We do pretty good.
Yeah, in terms of managing the market and managing the portfolio, this is a big step here. The first, well, kind of badly worded here, but the FTD stands for first 3 days, the first 3 trading days of the month. And this month we had our first bullish signal on the SPY in over 2 months. Basically since the start of the year, this is the first big buy signal. And so the question is, what does that mean? Now, I know that people who have been here all week know what it means, but if you're brand new, we found that if the SPY opens any day during the month above the high from the first 3 days, above the highest high from the first 3 days of the month, if the SPY can open above that level, which it did this week, it has an 87% success rate of finishing the month positive, at least over the 5-year span from 2021 to 2025. So our odds of success to the long side increased dramatically this week when the SPY opened up above the 3-day algo. That was on Wednesday, if I recall correctly. All right, and you can see what the market's done since then. If I open up a chart of the SPY, or we could use S&P, whatever. I'll show you this here once I switch my roadmap over. I'm going to square off the 3 days since we've opened above the algo, and yes or no in the chat. Can this indicator help you make money? Can it help you stay on the right side of the market? I think we probably can answer that for you. It's a resounding yes. And this is why we track it every day. I know the last 2 months might have been kind of boring because the market hasn't set up an advice signal. Well, you get about 2 or 3 months, probably on average, if not more than that, each year that are like that. So just got to stay patient, which we did. And here we are. So Tom, the next slide said, let's go live. We're already live. So good transition here.
Yeah, good job. All right, so let's first go through the Seven Sisters. We'll look at a daily chart compared to the 30-minute in the Seven Sisters. I'll just give you my opinion there.
Here's a daily chart of the S&P trading at 68.70.
All right, and so I've got support now at 68.30, and I have a target if you're long on the E-mini. Give it to you real quick. Might as well have what I got. The target I got 68.85 to 95.
Hey, Chuck, could you do me a favor and go to the YouTube page on the videos and live streams, see if there's one labeled Delta we can get posted in the chat for everybody that's asking for it. Should be one on the YouTube page.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Be right back.
68.30 support, 68.85 to 95. Target. So let me just draw 68.95 on the chart, about right there. 68.30, about right there, and I'll flip it back over to a 30-minute chart, and I will readjust the lines to better account for the plus or minus few points.
Paul asked, does the target have a time limit? Well, if I take it off the 30-minute chart, yes. If I take it off a daily chart, it's tied to the chart I take it off of. Like the number I gave you for Intel, getting to 75 is going to take a few months. Not like it's going to happen today.
We got the NASDAQ up next. I've switched it over to a daily chart. Current price 25,332.
What's the target inside the metrics? The metrics is that gray area. What's target inside there?
On the swing tab here, the target is 25,544.
544.
Yeah.
I've got a 40. I got a 395 target to 410 today.
395 to 410. Okay, 395 would be back to this day's the high of the day. Okay. Switched over to a daily chart so you can see it, or a 30-minute chart, excuse me. So you can see that. RV3 low this morning was 25,293. Hey, Tom in the chat, not Tom Busby, but Tom in the chat. Can you clear up your question there for me? We have a first 3 days spreadsheet, which is built from a Google spreadsheet online. And then we have
a trade tracker in there, I think, Tom. Might give you what you're looking for.
Yeah, we do have a feature. That's true. Good point. It's called the trade tracker. It basically is the 3-day algo spreadsheet, but through the roadmap. It's under tables labeled trade tracker. You can see it here. I've actually got all the 3-day stocks on there, but you can see it's got a column for 3-day high. 66.61 on the S&P is the number. 3-day low. We even throw in the week start high and low in there for you too. Tom in the chat, is that what you needed? All right, good deal. Now, Steve says, how do you respond when something hits your target? Well, rest assured, Tom's taking some profits. You may not take them all off, but when a stock hits Tom's target, you better be booking some profits, especially if it's on a short-term options trade. Any other questions while we wait for Tom here? Go back and see what the S&P's doing. NASDAQ pulling down a little bit. 68.64 was the RB3 low. 68.62 was the morning low on the S&P futures. Go see what crude oil's doing. Crude oil's pushing up. That's why the market's pulling down. Or however you want to word that.
All right, crude oil. Let me give you the numbers, short-term numbers on crude. I gave you my big number, 103.50. 103.50 is my pivot number. My short-term numbers on crude are support comes in at 96 and resistance comes in right at 100. Okay, so if it got 155, it's going to challenge the midpoint. So I'm trying to give you support and resistance from current prices. That's on crude.
Three numbers on crude: 103.55, 100, and 96. Let's go see what gold's doing. Still can't get above 4,800. That's fighting. That's the level it's fighting there. Looks like 47.87. We switched over to a daily chart. There it is. You can see the battle going on to that 4,800 pivot. Gold futures. Now, a lot of, I know a lot of people will have the roadmap, and I don't think gold rolls for several weeks here, but if not another month. But crude oil rolls every month around the 15th to 20th of each month. So next week we'll be rolling crude. And if you just have some spare time and want to figure out when the rollover schedule occurs, we actually have a link in the roadmap under links labeled current futures contracts. And it opens up. Jeff does a good job of keeping this updated of roughly when the next, time to be sure you have your futures contracts rolled. So you can see the index futures were good for a couple months. Gold futures were good till end of May. Same for bonds. Down here, crude oil, you can see right around the 20th. It varies, depends on when the volume rolls over, but it's usually around the 15th to 20th every single month for crude oil. And again, that was under links, current futures contracts. What have we not checked out here, Tom? I guess we got to look at bonds. There's your bonds, 113.29.
Where's the price?
I got bond futures at 113.29.
About 113.15, 14.15 support and resistance.
Okay. 113.15. Now, Chuck, if you could post that link you sent me in Slack, just right into the channel for everybody. Chuck's about to post a YouTube video that we have, one session that Tom covered Delta, option Delta, and how he uses option Delta. And that link from Chuck should be posted here real soon. There it is. Thanks, Chuck, for going to find that. Several people were asking for a video on Delta, and Chuck was able to find that for us. There it is. Make sure you copy that link, or you might just have to click on the link and then copy the paste, copy from there. February 3rd, training trade, so last month.
Does everybody understand that during this time period, Genesis, you typically get what I would call is a, how you want to describe it, a corrective type move? Does everybody understand to look for that this time? We're coming up into it, right? And it pulls in during this time period. Like the S&P's gone from what? 75 down here to 67, and the NASDAQ fell from about 350 down to 304. You got to anticipate that's going to happen on most days. I think it's about 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I was really, really glad you brought that up. A moment ago, I can't remember who it was, but somebody in the chat asked, "Is there an element of time to a trade that Tom was talking about?" Well, there is always an element of time involved in trading. Perhaps
that's really how DTI separates itself. What you just said, time.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
most people look at a chart, and it doesn't matter, whatever chart they come with their interpretation. We use numbers here. Nothing frustrates me more to hear somebody, "Hey, I told you to buy this stock." Well, when? And at what price? You see it all the time. People, running commercials or whatever, they say, "Hey, I made 1,000% on this stock." What they do is they go in there and look at where they should have bought it, and look at where it's trading. Oh, this qualifies for my 1,000% return. Anybody ever heard that kind of stuff? Drives me crazy to hear it. If I tell you I did something, I've got a real-time moment that I did it, okay? I think that's a separator.
yeah, and when you're trading intraday, especially, you got to be aware of these insights that help you book profits or not get whipsawed around. One of the best insights that Tom just went through was the Genesis insight. At 11:30 Eastern time, European markets closed down. U.S. traders take basically full control over the markets at that time at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. And that's where his insight, about 4 out of every 5 days or so, or about 70-80% of the time, if the market's at its highs going into that European close, it tends to pull back. If the market's at its lows going into that European close, it tends to bounce off the lows. So that is a very, very important insight for intraday trading, to say the least.
Put AMD in there. I'm showing how to use this. AMD's obviously been very bullish, correct? Put the 30-minute in there. Is that 30 minutes?
It is the 30-minute.
All right, so here's how you would use it. AMD is correcting right now. Everybody see it's correcting. Off the highs, it's made a 2-bar low there, got a lower Genesis bar. We're down here, coming in support. Here's how you use it. RB4 today, does everybody know what time RB4 is? Say yes if you do. RB4. So at 2 o'clock, if you see AMD through correcting 2 hours from now, and it makes a higher high than RB4, you can put on a position not for today, but for next week, because this stock will go higher. That simple technique. Everybody understand what I just said? And you might want to re-explain it. Do such a great job doing that. But AMD obviously is hit a wall here. And you always wonder, well, where did I get in? Well, a lot of people got in up there and they're down $1, $1.50. They didn't follow the DTI method. But if you still want to get in AMD, you want to see RB4 print a higher print than 132. That's probably telling you that, hey, we're going to go to that 262 area.
$262 target AMD. Like the sound of that.
Yeah, because put the daily up on AMD.
There's the daily.
There's the daily, very bullish. You look over there at the high areas, and we should go up and test that on this run. Doesn't mean we're going to go straight up, does it? Sean?
Never means that.
Sean
Never
says, well, that full move was in the open 20 minutes. Sean, were you there for my planning session where I said get long AMD and gave you a price? We're not talking about Johnny come lately. We're talking about watching what we say and understand the context it's given. We showed we took a profit today, probably at the high of the day. At the time we took it. That's about the best information we had when we set the trade up. I think if you trade with what we do, you're going to find out I'm always waiting for the odds to dictate the trade, because not every trade is going to be good. This is a hard game for us. I don't have to tell you that I must have said that 1,000 times. This is very hard. But what we do is try to put the odds in our favor when we do take that risk. That makes a little difference over the course of the year.
I'm looking forward to this afternoon session at 1:30, kind of prepare for the weekend.
Yeah, the slides didn't do just justice with what we're doing. What I've developed here is a continuous pocket put, pocket call approach, taking less than 2% of your accounts, or your money that's near and dear to you, and having a position on over the course of a year using this strategy. You're going to wake up on some days and have a real smile on your face, even if you thought the market was going higher or thought it was going lower. You're going to wake up. So this is our story. $199. I really don't know how Adam got that price, but it's well worth it, because we're going to do the setup phase today, and then next week, probably Tuesday, we'll see how it spells out. But we'll set a time next week to make sure that people know how to execute it too. That's another thing you got to worry about, the execution side of it. Any questions about this? It's going to happen in less than an hour and a half. For those that waited to the last minute, that minute's here. if you look at Palantir, just for your information, there was an announcement that came out of the administration how Palantir is the favorite child. And the stock popped about $5. Can you explain the difference of the intraday swing long start? Yeah, Jonathan can do that for you. Those kind of questions, we really should have came earlier because right now we're sort of in the stage of, hey, last call.
Last call. I'll switch back over to last call in just a second. The intraday is a 30-minute chart. We always use 30 minutes for intraday basis. So when you click on the intraday tab, it'll trigger the 30-minute chart. The swing tab, you can see across the top on my roadmap, it triggered a daily chart. So that's a daily viewpoint. And we're looking at Palantir, just as Tom just mentioned it. And the long tab in the metrics, the long tab, going to show you a weekly chart. You can see the W there across the top showcased. Now, the blue line across the chart is this blue ink right here in the metrics. So you can see that blue line is the monthly open line. We care an awful lot about open. So we track the monthly open line there on the long tab. When we click on the swing to get back to a daily candlestick chart, you can see the blue ink, it says week open. So that's the weekly open tab. And when we go to the intraday tab, you can see the blue ink says RBY. So that blue line across the chart is the open of the current reference bar. We are meeting this afternoon at 1:30. I had a little typo in the Zoom chat, but I fixed it now. 1:30 Eastern time this afternoon.
Hey, Jonathan, would you mind, since you went live, I hate to do this to you, but I wanted to cover, we had a big report yesterday in the grain market, and we didn't cover corn, soybeans, and wheat. I'd like to give some people some numbers.
Here's the 30-minute chart of corn.
All right, corn right now is bullish, and my target on corn, let's see, it's 443. I'd say 447 to 450 today. That's corn, bullish.
Run out of time on that to trade it as well, but let's
Yeah,
see.
you only got about an hour, 2 hours. Anyway, all right, what else you got?
30-minute chart of wheat.
All right, wheat. And I'm sideways on wheat, okay? And then soybean.
Minute chart of soybeans.
I'm long soybeans, and my target is 75 to 85 today. Current price is 75.
Ready.
Frank, are you here? Frank called me last night. I said, get long beans. All right, we can go back for the final last call.
Well, it's been a good week. Look forward to finish up the week at 1:30 with you, Tom.
Me too, I tell you. Folks, hope you enjoyed Train and Trade this week. We tried to do our very best. We tried to recap, keep you on the right side of the world. And I'll do note that the VIX has come up from 20 to 2065 with this little correction. Crude oil is at 99. Yeah, crude's got resistance at 100, but 155 gets a little bullish into the end of the day. The key time to look at crude, I'll just give you this insight, 1:30. Now, I think we've covered, we've hit it. I enjoy being with y'all. I can tell you that, that's for sure. Try to invite your friends here if you're out there and you got a chance to recommend it. Definitely do it. We work hard to make this great for you, and I think we're doing a good job, in my humble opinion, especially at the price. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, just sign up. It's dtitrade.com/pocket.
Yep, and we'll see you at 1:30. That's
Are you gonna play it one last time?
I can do that, sure.
Yeah, why don't you play
Let's
it?
see.
We gave you some really good information.
Yeah, sure did. So an hour and a half, we'll start that session there in the afternoon and stick around. I'm going to replay the entirety of